happy to welcome you all for day 7 of God's will for you. Today's discussion is about living out God's will by fearing God. Let's begin today's discussion by quoting a verse from the Holy Bible. The verse is from Proverbs chapter 9 verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning and the preeminent part of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding and spiritual insight. The fear of the Lord is the beginning and the preeminent part of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding and spiritual insight. There are two kinds of fear. Some fear God because He will harm or hurt them if they don't. But the Bible talks about a fear that is out of reverence, love, and delight. Fearing God and trusting God go hand in hand. You will always face a dilemma whether you should trust God's wisdom or whether you should take matters into your own hands. Is it worth it to wait for God or do it His way, or should you do it His way, or should you do something to help the situation? When we learn to fear God out of love, we will begin to see that God is faithful, good, kind, gracious, and wise. Fearing God out of love and trusting God at all times takes a certain kind of foolishness. The world abhors it and mock it, but the message of the gospel is foolishness to this world. Let's add a Bible reference to our discussion. The verse is from Proverbs chapter 3 verse 12. For those whom the Lord loves, He corrects, even as a father corrects the son in whom He delights. For those whom the Lord loves, He corrects, even as a father corrects the son in whom He delights. Living out God's will seems ridiculous to a world that does not know Him. When we follow Jesus wholeheartedly and surrender to Him unconditionally, then we begin to know and live out His perfect will with confidence, clarity, and competence. Let's add one more verse from the Holy Bible to our discussion. The verse is from Isaiah chapter 25 verse 1. O Lord, You are my God. I will exalt You, I will praise Your name, for You have done wonderful things, plans formed of old, faithful and sure. O Lord, You are my God. I will exalt You, I will praise Your name, for You have done wonderful things, plans formed of old, faithful and sure. God has always had a remnant of believers who trust His word and believe His promises and give glory to His name, even when experiences of the life and the ungodly behaviors of others seem to indicate the reverse. We must recognize how very important it is to live our lives according to God's will. As we identify and rid ourselves of self-will, and as we pray for God's will to permeate our lives, our decisions will be full of wisdom, and our lives will be greatly enriched. This action will also greatly increase unity within God's church. As we make decisions according to God's will individually, we will automatically become the same mind collectively. We will become one as Christ and the Father are one. To be in God's kingdom, we must truly strive to make His will our own. We must work hard, continue to bury our self-will and follow God's lead into His kingdom. As we do this, we will arrive there one day soon together. Above all things, we must do God's will always. It's end of today's discussion. Thank you all for following this plan daily. I hope all must have had a good idea about God's will for you. Stay tuned for the next plan. See you all in the next video.